Hi, this is my first how-to. So I'm going to be demonstrating something today that I've never actually done. So this could turn into a how not to video. Anyway, today's topic is about nail maintenance for fingerstyle guitarists. Okay. First thing I'd like to talk about is nail files. So, what's a nail file? Well, here's one. I do have a couple of metal ones lying around. I can't remember where I put them, but this one's fine. Okay. Now, let me introduce you to a couple of other types of nail files. This is a nail file. I know, it's a guitar, and these strings are only made of nylon. But this is particularly strong nylon, stronger than these nails. So even though it would take a while, plucking these strings will result in very short nails, and that's not a good thing. Now let me show you another type of nail file. This is a nail file as well, and this is a much more effective nail file than a nylon string guitar because these strings are made of metal. And this is the granddaddy of nail files, a 12-string guitar, or in this case an 11-string guitar. When played vigorously, like this, this transitions from being a nail file to being a nail shredder. So how do we approach this? We need to use fake nails, artificial nails. Now, here's a type of artificial nail. Alrighty, this one slips onto the end of your finger. Alright, this one's made out of metal. Now, this is perfectly fine for playing one of these or one of these. This being a mandolin. But these are not good for playing guitars. Guitars are much more expressive and much more versatile instruments than banjos or mandolins. You need full control over the strings, and you're not going to get that with one of these. These are loose. You can make them tight, but still they're not as strongly bound to your finger as a fingernail. So what's the solution? Well, we have to use fake nails. Like this? No, not like this. These are useless. These are purely cosmetic nails. My wife bought these for me. Bless her heart, she thought she was doing the right thing. But these are completely useless. They're just cosmetic. They're not strong enough to last on a guitar. Anyway, what about other types of fake nails? Well, yes, there are other types, and some that are much stronger than these. Alright, you can invest in those, and I have invested in those in the past, and they're fine. They're absolutely fine. In particular because they're made of fiberglass. Alrighty. Now there is a last option, and I've heard about this used as a last resort by guitarists who are playing in the middle of a gig and they lose one of their nails. It involves a quick dash to the toilet and fashioning a new nail out of toilet paper and super glue. And from what I've heard, it's a really good short-term solution. Now, that's what I'm going to do, but I'm not going to use toilet paper. I have plenty of it, but I'm just not going to use it. I think it would be better to use cotton wool, like this. Just normal cotton wool. So what are we going to need? Well, we need this, obviously. That's important. Alrighty. What else do we need? Well, We need the nail file. This nail file. Okay? Because at the end of the process we're going to have a very rough thing attached to our fingernail. And this will smooth it down. What else do we need? We need super glue. Alright? Now we could go with nail glue, and I do have some. But super glue is fine. Alright. The only thing I'm really concerned about with this is the sets in 10 seconds part. So that means I'll be applying it to my nail and then getting the cotton wool onto my nail, hopefully all within 10 seconds. What could possibly go wrong? So at this point I decided that it would be best not to narrate the process so I could concentrate on doing the job properly. So you see me initially trying to shape some cotton wool into the sort of attachment that I would be happy to glue to the end of my finger. Here I started to apply super glue to the overall cotton, having successfully applied the cotton to my fingernail. So this was the process of actually strengthening the whole attachment. It was at this point that I was starting to think that this was a dismal failure and that I was going to have to walk around with a floppy piece of cotton attached to my fingernail for the next 2 weeks. And at this point I realized that no, it was actually a success, and that cotton wool got very hard very quickly. Alright, so now we've got this. It worked. It actually worked, although it's way too big. It's so big. Oh, well, time to start trimming. Let's see. We could start off with this. Normally I use this for toenails. Let's see how it goes on super hardened cotton. It works quite well actually. Okay, this cotton is kind of brittle. So if I'm just cutting away at it, it's coming away quite easily. All right. Okay. So let's see. I'd rather err on the side of not cutting away enough than cutting away too much. Wow, that sounded like a standard fingernail. Alright, that's good enough. Right, yep, that's definitely good enough. Now it's time to start smoothing it down. Alright, using this. So after about 20 minutes, I'm left with this. 20 minutes of filing, I'm left with this. I'm really happy with it. It's worked out really well. It's not perfect, but it is strong. It feels strong. It feels just as hard as the sort of fiberglass nails I could buy. It was a bit brittle. I did find it a bit brittle. There were sections that I was able to just pull off with my thumbnail, and so that left me with a bit of concern about maybe it will fly to bits while I'm playing. It's ended up not much longer than my regular nail, which is fine because I'm not after a great amount of length. But I'm quite happy with this. This is trial run number 1 and it's been a success. I'm quite pleased with it. So how does it feel? It feels fine. It feels just like a real nail. Now it's a bit rough on this side. I still really have to think about a better option of filing that down than using a nail file. It's really, it's too rough. So sandpaper. Alright, so I'm going to have to use sandpaper on that side. That's way too rough. But on this side, it feels just like a real nail. So that's fine. I'm wrapped. I'm absolutely wrapped with this. So here we are, several hours later. I had previously recorded a part where I showed just how happy I was with the results because I filed it back, I smoothed it out, well, roughly smoothed it out, and I was really happy with the results. It resulted in a really strong nail. But since then, a few hours have passed, and what I thought was a really successful fake nail turned out to be not too successful. Alright, so it's probably really hard to see, but because the end result was somewhat brittle, bits of it have come off as I've been playing my guitar, and so what's ended up happening is that this bit that is stuck onto the top of my nail is now actually slightly shorter than my actual nail. So what's coming into contact with the strings on the guitar now is actually my nail, not this stuff that I have glued on. So is this a failure? No, not really. Not really. It's just it's part of the process of working out how to do it properly, isn't it? So I worked out that a certain amount of brittleness can result. So the challenge now is to work out how to overcome that. So, well, I'm just going to try to glue some more on and see what happens. What's the worst that can result? We'll see.